Hey guys! Tonight we're hiking high into the ancient Andes where the air's thin, the llamas are fluffier than you remembered, and the rituals. Oh, they're just casually mystical. Mist curls over the trail like it's rehearsed drifting around your ankles as soft bells jingle from somewhere ahead. Llama bells, to be exact. Each chime floats through the morning fog like a lullaby played on old bronze teeth. Somewhere a flute hums a wandering tune off-key but heartfelt. You trudge forward, feet brushing against frosted tufts of ichu grass, the world slowly waking beneath a sky that still looks half asleep. The mountains loom in every direction as if they're leaning in just to eavesdrop. You're not alone. Villagers move around you like ghosts in woolen cloaks, their breath misting in the air. They carry baskets of quinoa-dried coca leaves and something that smells suspiciously like smoked guinea pig. But let's not judge. This isn't your comfort zone, it's theirs. You're here for the llamas, not just to pet them. Though, yes, you will try to pet them, but to witness something much older and odder, the llama packing ritual. These animals weren't just pack beasts. They were seen as bridge walkers, creatures who could carry not just goods but prayers up into thin sacred altitudes. You'll be watching as they're prepped, blessed, and loaded for ceremonial treks that cross mountain passes. No map has ever fully explained. And you, dear viewer, you probably won't survive this altitude. Kidding, sort of. Your head's already light. The coca tea helps, but only just. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Tell me, where are you listening from and what's your local time? I love seeing our sleepy little community from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink against the dawn haze as the shaman appears. Just appears like mist that decided to become a man. He's ancient, probably part fog himself, wearing layers of alpaca wool and feathers tied with woven cords. Around his neck dangles a pouch made from some animal you don't want to ask about. He doesn't speak, not yet. He looks at you, right through you, and nods. You're allowed to continue. The trail you're on is old. Really old. Not, oh, this was built in the 1600s old. But people walked this before Machu Picchu was a rough sketch old. Stones beneath your feet are polished smooth by centuries of footsteps, human and hooved. Historians still argue whether the earliest versions of these routes were made solely for trade or if they had purely ceremonial origins. The answer? Probably both. That's how the Andes work. Everything is sacred and practical all at once. The fog thickens as you step into a kind of courtyard made of worn boulders. Here, dozens of llamas stand like statues mostly. One is chewing on a shawl, another is lying down dramatically as if protesting capitalism. But most stand quietly, their fur thick and matted with frost. Their long lashes blink lazily and their breath puffs out in little ghost clouds. You think you hear someone whispering in Quechua? It might be the shaman, or the wind, or a very educated llama. Then something odd happens. A small child walks up to one of the llamas and presses her forehead to its snout. They stay like that, forehead to fur, for a long moment. It's not just cute, it's oddly formal. The llama doesn't flinch. A few feathers flutter from the child's headdress as she steps back and offers a small ceramic bowl to the animal. In it, mashed sweet potatoes, some coca leaves, and a dead cricket. Yep, that tracks. You realize you're witnessing the first step in the packing ritual, not the loading, not the rope tying, but the acknowledgement. Every llama has a role, and apparently it gets a personalized send-off snack. It turns out in Andean cosmology, llamas weren't just cargo haulers, they were family, messengers, sometimes even offerings. During some periods, especially before the Spanish came thundering in, llamas were sacrificed during major festivals. Archaeological digs have uncovered burial pits where llama bones rest beside fine pottery and corn beer jars. Some even wore small silver nose rings. Yes, the llamas had better jewelry than you. Historians still argue whether these sacrifices were daily occurrences or reserved for very specific calendar moments. One theory suggests they were done to ensure safe journeys for the living pack animals. Another, that they were messengers sent straight to the mountain gods carrying prayers on their woolly shoulders. But tonight, or rather this morning in our sleepy tale, no llamas are being sacrificed. Just pampered, fed, blessed, stared at, a lot. You find a place to sit a smooth rock that doesn't seem too offended by your presence. Across from you, someone's burning dried herbs in a spiral-shaped bowl. The scent is sharp, clean, and bitter. You cough once quietly and try to play it cool. A nearby elder shoots you a knowing look and slides a cloth over the smoke to soften it. He gets it. Outsiders always cough the first time. Now the llama bells begin again. Not random jingling now, but rhythmic. Someone is playing them, deliberately tapping their hooves to make them ring like a sleepy xylophone. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's for the gods, or maybe the llamas just like the attention. A woman nearby begins to chant slow and low. It rises and falls like breathing. She's weaving the first threads of a story too old to be translated. One that will stretch across valleys and winds and melt into snow before morning ends. And you, swaying gently with sleep, tugging at the edge of your thoughts, are already part of it. You're still not entirely sure how one chooses a good llama, but you're about to find out. The morning fog is lifting now, just a little, and patches of dusty sunlight dapple the hillside. A row of villagers has formed a sort of slow, solemn circle around the gathered animals, and one by one the llamas are coaxed into the center. Not with ropes or tugs, but with fruit flutes and, yes, sweet words. Apparently, llama selection isn't just about size or strength. It's spiritual. A blend of instinct, tradition, and something just shy of llama telepathy. Elders step forward holding bundles of coca leaves. Each one kneels before the llama under review and begins mumbling soft, breathy prayers while rubbing the leaves between thumb and forefinger. The leaves are then cast like leafy dice across a woven mat. This isn't random divination. It's read like a book. A lumpy green, slightly chewed-up book. One llama gets a particularly enthusiastic response. The coca leaves fell in what one elder calls Lakta Kause, village life. It's a good omen. The llama seems unimpressed. It yawns, revealing a set of teeth that look suspiciously like old piano keys. Still, it's chosen. Someone ties a red yarn ribbon behind its ear. The others? Well, they get other colors, less exciting. Historians still argue whether these color codes were purely symbolic or if they represented actual logistics like weight class, trail rank, or behavior rating. One theory even suggests the ribbons might have been early tracking tags. Think medieval Fitbit for llamas. You sit back and try to decode the pattern. Red seems special. Blue maybe for steady walkers. Yellow. You suspect that means we'll definitely spit at you if you make eye contact, which, by the way, you've already done twice. Now, here's the quirky bit. Some herders claim they can tell a llama's spirit based on how it blinks when the wind changes. One short blink, obedient soul. Long blink, with a head tilt, that llama is definitely plotting something. You decide to test it. There's a young llama to your left with a lopsided haircut and a pouty underbite. You lean in very respectfully and whisper, "Hey there, buddy. Gonna be a good llama today." It immediately sneezes on your sleeve. Okay then. Back in the main circle, a group of teenage boys is doing something less elegant. They're running a kind of llama obstacle course, a loose one. The llamas are guided around boulders, over logs, through fluttering banners meant to simulate the surprises of the trail. It's less Olympics, more chaotic llama improv. Some animals strut like runway models. Others panic and sit down mid-track like toddlers refusing to move at Disneyland. A few villagers laugh softly. One shakes his head and mutters something that sounds suspiciously like, "No stamina, but good fluff." You can't help but smile. There's love in every gesture here, frustrated, time-worn love. These animals are family. You realize that quickly. Each llama has a name, not cutesy pet names either. Big important names, Chaska, Elapi, Sumac. Names that mean things like star thunder or beautiful. You overhear one woman talking to her llama like it's her grandchild. Don't be stubborn today. We have a long walk. I'll give you extra salt if you behave. The llama flicks its ears and pointedly ignores her. It's not just personal preference or village habit. These rituals, the testing, the naming, the leaf reading, are echoes of something deeper. Llamas were once part of imperial strategy. In the Inca world, where wheels weren't widely used and horses hadn't yet arrived, llamas were the trucks, trains, and pack mules all rolled into one. They carried food cloth building stones and gold offerings across tens of thousands of miles of road. You've probably heard of the Inca Trail, but there wasn't just one. There was an entire highway system called Capac Ñan stretching like a spider web across mountains, valleys, jungles, deserts. And on those roads, llamas. Herds of them, thousands strong. Some historians estimate that state caravans included up to 40,000 llamas for the biggest ceremonial events. That's right, 40,000. Let that number do a little tap dance in your sleepy brain. And those animals weren't just random livestock. They were selected with care, raised in state-run herds, even offered in ritual sacrifice at special events. Some were bred specifically to produce the softest wool. Others trained from young ages to walk calmly beside priests, or to carry precisely measured sacks of dried meat and maize. Historians still debate whether llamas had careers, like once a cargo llama, always a cargo llama, or could a particularly well-behaved one be promoted to temple duty, or dream big here retirement in a sacred pasture with unlimited alfalfa and daily neck scratches. Either way, the stakes were high. You watch as one last llama is led into the circle, a gray beast with an aristocratic profile and tufted ankles that look like fuzzy boots. The shaman steps forward again, holding a carved staff in one hand and a copper bell in the other. He moves slowly, placing a hand on the llama's forehead. The bell rings once, softly, decisively. The crowd hushes. You think, is this a sign? The shaman nods to the handlers. The llama, now marked with a vibrant crimson yarn, has been chosen as the lead walker, the one who sets the pace, guides the caravan, and receives the first blessing. And now you realize the ritual is shifting. The next part begins at sunrise. The sun doesn't so much rise in the Andes as it creeps gold seeping down ridgelines like honey on cracked stone. Shadows stretch, yawn, and retreat. You feel it before you see it, a warm touch across your neck, the kind of sunlight that's taken 3 days to travel here just to watch people burn potatoes and bless llamas. This is when the offerings begin. Not flashy, not loud, just steady, ancient. You find yourself kneeling with a dozen others in a semicircle, your knees pressed into cold, flattened grass. Before each person, a small clay dish. In it, carefully arranged, are items you'd never think to pair together. 2 kernels of purple maize, a few coca leaves, a sliver of llama fat, and something that might be ash or might be ground obsidian. No one tells you. That's not the point. To your left, an elder woman has started humming a melody that vibrates in her chest more than her throat. You feel it more than you hear it. Her fingers move methodically, pinching small amounts of each item and tossing them into a circular pit lined with stones and blackened by years of fire. Someone else dribbles a bit of chicha corn beer onto the earth. You watch it soak in like the mountain is drinking slowly without blinking. You try to follow along, coca leaves first, then the ash. You hesitate on the fat. It smells ambitious. But when in doubt, you glance at the person next to you and do what they do. That's the rule here. That, and never interrupt the shaman even if a llama is actively chewing your hat. This whole ceremony is for Pachamama, the Earth Mother. She doesn't ask for much, just acknowledgement, a little beer, maybe some hair from a noble llama's backside. Seriously, the shaman comes forward again. This time, he holds a clay bowl filled with slow-burning herbs eucalyptus munya, a hint of dried potato peel. He waves it over the crowd, letting the smoke drift across the offerings, across your arms, into your face. It smells like scorched mint and thunderclouds. You inhale and cough again softly. The same elder from before slides you a knowing glance. She's definitely keeping score. Historians still argue whether these morning offerings originated before the Inca Empire or were refined during its height. One theory is that the earliest highland peoples, centuries before the Inca, developed these rituals to appease mountain spirits after landslides or famines. Another theory insists that many of these were imperial policies designed to maintain cosmic balance called Aini, the principle of mutual exchange. You give to the earth, and the earth gives back. Simple, sacred, non-negotiable. Now the llama hair. A group of children under close watch are clipping small tufts from selected llamas and handing them to the adults. Not too much, just a symbolic amount. Enough to tell the spirits, this creature is precious. We offer even its fur, not just our own sweat. One girl walks up to the center with her offering in a folded corn husk. She lays it down gently, then presses her hands to her chest. The wind tugs her braids sideways like a playful sibling. Then there's the ash. You're told with a meaningful look and exactly zero explanation to take a pinch of it and smear it just below your left eye. It stings a little, not painfully, just enough to make you blink. Someone whispers that this is meant to sharpen your vision not for distance but for meaning. Another fringe belief that the ash holds pieces of past caravans literally. Old ashes from previous offerings are often saved and mixed into new rituals. So there's a chance you just smeared 400-year-old llama blessing soot on your face. No big deal, and it does feel different now. You feel different, like you're not just watching anymore, like the mountain noticed you. The shaman rings his bell again once sharply. Everyone bows their head. Even the llamas. Especially the lead llama, who drops into what looks suspiciously like a yoga pose. Someone chuckles quietly, a flicker of warmth in this cool, reverent moment. And now something new afire. It's small, tidy, barely more than a cluster of glowing coals. But around it, 3 large stones are arranged in a perfect triangle, each inscribed with marks that could be letters or just very patient scratches. On one, a small pot bubbles with something dark and thick. It smells earthy and sweet like spiced tamarind and moss. You're invited gently to taste. A small wooden spoon is passed around. You get a dollop. It clings to the spoon like lava and tastes complicated, smoky, bitter, like every herb that's ever been used to ward off a bad dream. They call it kaucha. It's a tonic, a cleanser, a shrug of the soul before the work begins. You close your eyes for a second longer than necessary. When you open them, the ceremony has begun to dissolve. People are rising, brushing off their skirts and trousers, the dishes being gathered with care. But no one speaks loudly. Everything happens with soft friction, like sand smoothing glass. The sun is higher now. A thin warmth begins to reach your toes. A bell chimes again. Not the shaman's this time, but a llama's. And then another, like a sleepy xylophone warming up. One animal steps forward, then 2. Then the entire herd shifts, breathing in sync, legs adjusting like synchronized clock hands. They know it's time. The offerings are done. The blessings accepted. Pachamama has been greeted, honored, maybe even amused. And you still tasting the fire tonic on your tongue and brushing llama hair from your sleeves are officially part of the caravan. The sky has taken on that pale, aching blue that only happens above 10,000 feet. The kind of blue that makes you squint even when the wind bites. You pull your shawl or whatever borrowed poncho someone kindly tossed your way tighter around your shoulders. The villagers are moving now, slowly but with purpose. The energy has shifted. The sacred is becoming practical. It's time to prep the gear, but not just any gear. Tonight's journey doesn't begin with loading up the llamas, not yet. First, you help weave the very straps that will carry everything: load bands braided by moonlight and blessed by breath. You shuffle into a round structure built low into the hillside. It's warm inside thanks to the tight adobe walls and a small central fire. Around you, 4 women sit cross-legged on mats, pulling long threads of alpaca wool through their fingers like they're untangling stories from the stars. You're handed a bundle of fibers, dull brown, soft, cream, rust red. No instructions, just an expectant glance. So you mimic the woman nearest you, twisting, braiding, looping. Your first few tries look less like pack straps and more like sad spaghetti, but she pats your hand and mumbles something that includes the word gringo. It might be affection, might not. You learn that each strap huaraca must be tightly woven not just to hold the weight of pottery, food, and ceremonial items, but also to avoid offending the mountain spirits. If a strap breaks mid-journey, it's not just a practical failure, it's an omen. Andean superstition doesn't mess around. Historians still debate whether the intricate patterns woven into these straps held messages. Some believe they functioned like quipu, the knotted cords used by Inca administrators to record taxes and census data. Others suggest they were purely aesthetic. One weaver here insists that the designs whisper to the llamas, telling them whether they'll be carrying dried fish or gold figurines. You nod politely. You're not here to argue with someone who just spun a perfect strap with her eyes closed. Once the fibers are braided into long bands, they're reinforced with thin strips of dried cactus fiber. That's the secret ingredient. It adds bite grip, keeps the bundles from sliding on a llama's back during steep climbs, and if a predator or a nosy goat tries to chew through it, good luck. That stuff's basically Highland Kevlar. The moon is still out, high and lazy above the cliffs, casting its light through a hole in the roof. It lands in a perfect beam across the workshop floor, highlighting the fibers like strands of silver. It feels intentional, choreographed almost. A boy no older than 10 walks in carrying a carved gourd full of something steaming. It's a mix of boiled herbs, maybe eucalyptus, maybe something that smells vaguely like mint and burnt sugar. He dips the end of each strap into the brew, murmuring words too quick for you to catch. Each strap is then left to dry on a wooden rack near the fire. The smell is heady. You might be mildly enchanted. Then comes the breath part. Seriously, each weaver, once finished, takes a strap and exhales slowly across its length. It's not just for drying, this is a blessing. A transfer of intention. A quiet promise to the llama who'll carry it and the traveler who'll walk beside it. You try it. You hold up your not quite symmetrical strap, inhale deeply, and exhale in one long stream. For a moment, the fibers shimmer slightly in the firelight. Or maybe that's your sleep-deprived brain having a moment. Either way, it feels right. And there's something comforting in the rhythm of it all. Twist, loop, breathe. Twist, loop, breathe. No rush, no deadlines, just the slow, sacred art of making things that matter. You learn that moonlight weaving is more than tradition. It's thought to imbue protection. Daylight weaving is for market goods, daily burdens, common paths. But these moon-woven straps, they're reserved for sacred cargo, for pilgrimages, for journeys you don't take twice. One woman points to the edge of her strap where a tiny white bead has been knotted into the pattern. For the snow god, she whispers, so he won't throw storms at us. Another strap has a crimson feather bound near its center. That's for balance, someone says, in case the mountain tries to tip you sideways. Balance, protection, endurance, these aren't just items, they're intentions made visible. As dawn creeps further down the valley, the weaving slows. Finished straps are laid out carefully. The fire dies to glowing embers. No one speaks for a while. You sit there blinking at your fingers, which are now striped with fiber burns and dust. The woman beside you places her hand over yours. Your strap will hold, she says simply, then stands and disappears into the pale light outside. You follow, stepping out into a world that has shifted subtly since you entered. The village is waking with creaks and whispers. Llamas are standing now, shaking frost from their coats. Bells tinkle softly as heads turn and tails flick. It's nearly time to pack. But before that, each llama must receive its strap not just thrown over its back, but fitted, adjusted, matched, like a custom suit. And if the strap doesn't match the llama's energy, you start again. Some llamas prefer tighter bands. Some need extra padding beneath. And one, a very moody charcoal-colored one, refuses to move unless its strap smells like eucalyptus. How do they know? No one knows. But they do. You catch yourself smiling. At this point, nothing surprises you. And somewhere behind you, the moon begins its quiet descent, its job done for the night. By now, the sun is fully awake, stretching gold across every ridge like a lazy cat settling on a warm rug. You squint against it, rubbing llama fiber from your sleeves, and shuffle back toward the ceremonial ground. It's time for the shaman's blessing, the part that separates an ordinary pack animal from a divine transport specialist. The lead llama, still rocking that fabulous crimson ear ribbon, is brought forward and positioned at the very center of the clearing. It stands surprisingly still. Maybe it remembers this ritual from before. Maybe it's just contemplating life choices, or maybe it's frozen because someone just blew sacred tobacco smoke directly up its nose. That's right. A man with sun-browned skin and sharp cheekbones steps forward with a small bundle of burning herbs, wild tobacco, eucalyptus, maybe dried cactus flower, and cups it in both hands. He leans in very close and gives a single deliberate puff, right between the llama's nostrils. The llama blinks once, then again, then lets out a long sigh like it's been attending too many meetings. The blessing has begun. He moves next to the animal's forehead, drawing a finger in a circle across the fur. A soft chant begins, not loud but insistent, rising from the surrounding villagers like steam off river stones. You can't make out every word, but phrases repeat, Kausai Pak Lamkai Apu Wamani. For life, for work, for the mountain spirits who live in the cliffs and sometimes throw rocks when they're grumpy. The shaman walks the perimeter of the clearing, sprinkling a fine white powder, crushed shell, or bone ash onto the dirt. It marks a boundary not physical, but spiritual. Inside this ring, every llama will be blessed before loading. You're told that if a llama crosses the line before being blessed, it's considered an omen. And yes, someone once canceled an entire caravan over it. Better safe than spiritually stranded. Historians still debate what the earliest versions of these blessings looked like. Some records suggest llama rituals involved chanting and smoke. Others reference the use of colored water feathers and even small mirrors used to confuse evil spirits. A few researchers speculate that different highland regions had unique variants, some using flute music exclusively, others requiring an offering of llama milk, which frankly sounds complicated. Today, though, it's smoke and salt and soft-spoken prayer. Each llama is led in one at a time. A hand on the head, a brush of ash across the bridge of the nose, a circle drawn on the forehead, a waft of smoke across the ears. Some animals blink lazily. Others sneeze violently. One particularly dramatic white llama rears up mid-blessing, clearly overwhelmed by the sacredness of it all. It's gently calmed down with murmured reassurances and a bribe of dried figs. And then it's your llama's turn. Yes, your llama. The one you've been trying not to get too attached to, despite the fact that she keeps nudging you for snacks and occasionally nuzzles your elbow like she's known you in a past life. Her name is Tika. You've decided. Tika walks forward, with the calm swagger of a llama who knows exactly how sacred her role is. The shaman places his palm gently on her forehead, mutters a blessing in Quechua, and perhaps sensing your awkward, hovering nods at you to step forward. You freeze. Wait, is this happening? You approach slowly, hands open. The shaman hands you a tiny carved spoon filled with glowing embers and a pinch of fragrant herbs. He gestures waft it gently toward her ears. You do. Tika blinks once, tilts her head slightly, and lets out a small her sound that you're choosing to interpret as approval. The shaman smiles just slightly and marks your forehead with a soft dab of the same ash he used earlier. And just like that, you've participated. Not just as an observer, but as part of the ritual. You step back and the ceremony continues. More llamas, more blessings. The rhythm holds steady. Breath, smoke, ash, blessing. Nearby, one handler begins attaching charms to the llama's straps, small objects tied with bits of red thread. You spot a dried chili, a polished stone, a feather, and even what looks like a tiny woven doll. Each charm is meant to protect, or distract spirits, or simply to bring luck. Historians still argue whether these charms held uniform meaning or were improvised based on the handler's gut feeling. Either way, they're everywhere, dangling from ropes tucked into packs tied to ear fluff. Then comes the ritual cursing. Wait, what? Yes, you heard that right. A tiny part of the blessing ritual includes a kind of light scolding. It's said to balance the energy. Every llama gets a little whispered rebuke to remind it of its duty. A gentle ancient roast, if you will. One elder leans in and mutters, "Don't you dare lie down halfway up the pass again." Another grumbles, "You dropped a bag of beans last year, don't think I forgot." Even the shaman leans close to one feisty young male and says something that sounds suspiciously like, "Behave," or Pachamama's sending condors. It's playful, but serious. The llamas somehow seem to get it. The final blessing is for the land. A bowl of chicha is raised. A few drops poured out on each side, north, south, east, west, then upward toward the sun, and finally downward into the soil. A thank you, a request, a promise. The bell rings one last time. It's done. Silence follows just for a breath, then movement quick practiced. Ropes are brought in. Packs assembled. Llamas lined up in formation. The ritual space becomes a staging area. The sacred blends back into the ordinary. But for a little while longer, the air still hums. And you smell like smoke, taste like salt, and have a llama hair stuck to your lip. Perfect. The trail is waking up now if it ever truly sleeps. You notice it as the villagers begin to move with that steady rhythm only people born at altitude can manage. There's no rush, no barking orders. Just the quiet choreography of people who have done this for generations. And somehow every motion points toward a single invisible force, the Sapa Inca. You don't see him, of course. He's not here. He's not even alive by a few hundred years. But you feel him. The Inca emperor might as well be the fifth element: earth, wind, fire, water. And policy. Every gesture here, from the way the packs are tied to how the Lad Llama's ribbon is positioned, reflects a hierarchy that was once carved into mountainsides and whispered down the line from Cusco. Even the color of the yarn, that brilliant crimson royal, the same shade worn by temple guards and imperial runners who once dashed up these slopes with messages laced into cords. One of the elders pauses beside you and gestures toward a woven banner hanging from a wooden pole near the trailhead. It's sun-faded but still proud. You recognize the symbol, four-stepped shapes arranged in a cross, the Chacana, Andean cross. It's not just decoration. It represents the layers of the world: the upper gods, the middle humans, the underworld ancestors, and at the center a hole, a portal, a point of connection. From him, the elder says, pointing toward the center, "She means the Sapa Inca, all paths." You nod because that's what you do when you're not quite sure how to respond to a metaphysical geography lesson delivered before breakfast. Historians still argue whether the Sapa Inca's presence in these rituals was direct religious worship or more of a political nod, like including the flag at a graduation ceremony. But in practice, there is no difference here. You bless the llamas, you thank the mountain, and you honor the man who claimed to be descended from the sun. And it goes deeper than symbols. As the caravan forms, you begin to notice that the llamas are arranged in specific groups, not just by size or temperament, but by purpose. The front animals carry ceremonial items, pottery, painted with sunbursts, bundles of coca leaves, small figurines wrapped in cloth. One even carries a wooden box with a lock made of bone. No one touches it. No one talks about it. You get the feeling it's both incredibly sacred and slightly cursed. Next, come the food, packs dried, meat, freeze-dried potatoes called chuño, blocks of salt, dried maize, and the occasional treat, candied squash maybe, or a bundle of herbs for chewing along the way. It smells faintly of earth and pepper, and then trailing behind like reluctant interns come the utility llamas. These are the strong, shaggy boys carrying tent poles, woolen cloth, fire-starting tools, and spare sandals. Yes, spare sandals. Made of braided grass, they're lightweight but surprisingly sturdy, and no one goes on a long trek without at least 3 extra pairs. You feel your own shoes shift uncomfortably. They don't belong here. One llama turns to look at you as if to say, "Nice boots, outsider." The loading process is mesmerizing. Each bundle is weighed by a feel, no scales, just experience and adjusted for balance. You watch a woman shift a load an inch to the left, tighten a strap, then pat the llama's side twice. Done. No fuss, no knots, just confidence. Like she's been doing this since birth, and maybe she has. And here's where it gets even more specific. Each llama's load is not to exceed 25% of its body weight. Because that's the exact limit a llama will tolerate before. How do we say this politely? It revolts. Sit down, strike, spitting. Or in some memorable cases, lying on its side like a collapsed marionette and refusing to get up until everything is removed and offered again respectfully. You spot one such situation unfolding now. A llama with a fashionable fringe of white around its ears has just flopped down mid-pack. 2 handlers are negotiating with it, first with words, then with salt, then with subtle shoulder rubs. It eventually relents, but not before dramatically sighing, like a disgruntled actor forced to do a second take. You glance at Tika, your adopted llama who's already been loaded with a modest bundle of wool cloth and 2 pots wrapped in reeds. She's standing like a pro, blinking slowly. You feel proud. She's clearly a seasoned professional. Now, something you didn't expect. Before the group moves out, each handler steps forward and places one hand gently on their llama's neck. They hold it there. Some close their eyes. Some murmur something. One simply whistles a soft 3-note melody. This is a moment of alignment, of shared breath, of we're in this together. And it's beautiful. You join in. Tika feels warm under your palm. She shifts slightly, then settles. No drama, no performance, just presence. Historians still debate whether this kind of animal-human bonding was encouraged across the empire or was more of a regional thing in the highlands. Some Spanish chroniclers dismissed it as superstition. Others wrote with a strange admiration, saying, "The Andean people knew their beasts better than they knew each other." Now, with everyone in place, the caravan leader lifts a conch shell to his lips. He blows once. The sound ripples across the hillside, low, ancient, like a whale singing into the stone. The llamas perk up. People adjust their cloaks. The journey has begun. You take your first step onto the trail, the soft crunch of dust beneath your feet, and think, the Inca might be long gone, but his presence is still stitched into every footprint. And you've just added your own. And now at last, you walk. Well, trudge, if we're being honest. The path climbs immediately because the Andes don't believe in easing you in gently. No warm-up stroll, no flat terrain, just up, then more up, then a surprise switchback, which is really just more up in disguise. But it's beautiful. The trail ahead narrows between towering walls of stone and scrub. Your footsteps stir dry soil and tiny blooms that scatter like confetti. In front of you, the llamas move with that hypnotic high-stepping gait, silent except for the occasional snort or the chiming of their bells, which now seem to ring in a soothing rhythm. Chime step, chime step. Your heartbeat sinks to it slowly. The lead walker holds a long stick adorned with feathers and brass rings, using it more as a signal than a staff. When he lifts it high, the caravan slows. When he swings it low, the group turns. And when he taps it gently 3 times on the rock, that means stop immediately. Someone's sandal just exploded. It happens more often than you'd think. The llama in front of you, Tika, of course, has settled into her role with the poise of a woolly diplomat. She walks confidently, ears occasionally swiveling backward to check if you're still breathing. You are. Barely, but yes. Every so often the trail passes one of the ancient Tambo's small stone outposts, once used as rest stations along the Inca road system. Most are empty now, their thatched roofs long gone, but the foundations remain stacked stone upon stone with mathematical precision. Some even have carved niches where offerings were once placed: coca leaves, maize feathers, dried fish. You pause at one and tuck in a tiny pebble from your pocket because why not? Everyone else is doing it. Plus, it might count as cosmic insurance. Historians still argue whether tambos were purely logistical, meant for food and rest, or if they doubled as spiritual checkpoints. Some believe they were aligned with celestial events. Others claim they were sites of miniature rituals tuned to the terrain like prayer radios. Either way, this trail is more than just a path. It's a woven thread of culture stretching across centuries. At the second bend, the caravan halts. It's time for a misa a la montaña, a brief mountain offering. Nothing dramatic. Just a small pause to acknowledge the spirits believed to live in the cliffs above the Apus. These aren't just scenic hills. Each peak is a personality, a protector, sometimes a trickster. The leader pours a few drops of chicha onto the ground. Someone murmurs a few lines of verse. The llamas go oddly still. You follow suit even if you're not sure what you're mumbling. Doesn't matter. The mountain knows if your heart's in it. And it's not all solemnity. About an hour into the trek, 2 younger handlers begin a sort of casual race up one of the side ridges, laughing, shouting, slipping on gravel, and hooting like condors. Their llamas follow, gamely clearly used to this kind of nonsense. One even outruns its handler. The rest of the caravan watches like sleepy judges on a llama reality show. When the racers return, a woman gifts the winner a woven bracelet and a suspiciously smug smile. You laugh but try not to lose your breath. Air is thin here, and lungs are picky. Later, as you continue climbing, you notice something strange. The llamas don't drink. There's no water stop, no troughs, just movement. Turns out llamas are desert adapted. They can go days without water if they have enough moisture-rich plants and chewable herbs. Some handlers tuck little bundles of dried leaves behind their llama's ear, not for snacks, but as symbols of endurance. Like motivational granola, but for spiritual animals. Still, the trail is long, and even llamas need breaks. Around midday, the lead llama stops near a jagged overlook, where the wind picks up and the path widens. Time for rest. Blankets are unrolled, bundles untied. You sit beside your llama, sharing a patch of flattened grass and a chunk of dried potato. It's not gourmet. It tastes like someone salted a sponge, but it's warm and your fingers are grateful. A woman passes around a pouch of maca powder, an earthy root ground into a fine dust. You dip a fingertip and press it to your tongue. It's bitter like determination in edible form. The others nod in approval. Then come the stories. With the caravan paused and food shared, people begin to talk softly, lazily like river currents. One man tells of the time a storm rolled in so fast the llamas turned before the sky did. Another claims his grandmother could speak to them directly in whistles only the llamas understood. One boy not to be outdone insists his llama once dreamed the future. The group humors him, the llamas. They just blink and chew. Historians still puzzle over how much Andean oral tradition was tied to these caravan journeys. Many legends exist because of the trail passed down in footsteps and echo. It's not just history, it's walking memory. You close your eyes for a moment. The wind brushes your face. Somewhere nearby, a flute starts to play a slow, sleepy tune that feels like it's been played every afternoon since the glaciers were young. Tika lays down beside you. Not tired, just settled. You reach out and rest your hand on her woolly side. It's warm and steady. And for a brief moment, you forget where you are. Not in the sense of confusion, in the sense of peace. After rest comes negotiation. No, not with the mountain gods or the weather. Not even with your own sore calves. You're entering the most complicated part of any Andean caravan llama politics. It begins subtly, a soft grunt, a tail swish, a sideways glance between two fluffy beasts that if you were any less sleep-deprived, you might mistake for disdain. The handlers call it llama chisma, llama gossip. You call it oddly personal. See, it turns out llamas have preferences, strong ones. Certain llamas refuse to walk beside others. Some will only accept a load if it's positioned on their good side. One diva llama, named Sumac, flat out lies down any time she's placed behind a particular spotted male. No one knows why. They've tried bribery, sweet potato, compliments, nothing works. You witness this firsthand. A young handler attempts to rearrange the pack order for efficiency. Tika, your llama, has been assigned a new spot fifth in line behind an older male named Tupo. She steps forward, halts, looks at you, then plants all 4 feet and lets out a sharp eek of pure judgment. No, says the handler. She hates him. Tupo sneezes in response, which feels pointed. The entire caravan pauses while this is sorted out. Eventually, Tika is moved forward, just behind a caramel-colored female with a gentle demeanor and zero drama. She accepts the position with a flick of her ears and a grunt that clearly means finally. Historians still argue whether ancient Andean people truly understood the psychological complexity of llama herds, or if they simply worked around it out of necessity. But field notes from 20th century ethnographers make it clear these animals operate like a structured social network, part soap opera, part LinkedIn. The handlers know it too. Before any long trek, they'll spend hours watching herd behavior. Who nuzzles whom? Who kicks? Who gets testy when brushed? Based on this, they'll decide order of march load assignments and even rest breaks. And yes, sometimes things change mid-journey, like now. As the caravan resumes its climb, a dispute breaks out between 2 yearling males near the back. You hear it before you see it. Lo grumbles a rhythmic stamping and then a short-lived wrestling match that looks less like a fight and more like 2 shag rugs colliding in slow motion. No one panics. The nearest elder sighs, walks over, unties their lead ropes, swaps their places, pats them both on the nose and keeps walking. Crisis averted. Order restored. But the negotiation isn't just between llamas. There's handler gossip too. As the trail curves along a narrow ledge with a dizzying drop, 2 women behind you begin quietly discussing. Okay, roasting a third handler's pack job. Apparently, one of the pottery bundles wasn't balanced correctly and the poor llama has been listing slightly for the last half hour. Nothing dangerous, just unseemly. Leans like a reed in river wind, one woman mutters. Because she tied it like she had noodles for fingers, the other replies. They nod in agreement and keep walking. You're not sure whether to feel entertained or terrified. Then come the actual load negotiations. It happens at a narrow pass, a natural bottleneck where the trail dips between 2 sheer cliffs. The air is cooler here, and the llamas shift impatiently. The lead handler steps forward assessing the terrain and announces a decision: redistribute the weight. You blink. Redistribute. Now, apparently, yes. Each pack is examined. Some are lightened, others reinforced. and in a moment that feels incredibly high stakes for a caravan in the clouds. Two clay jars are swapped between llamas, one carrying ceremonial beer, the other a precious bundle of dried beans used in blessings. You hold your breath as the exchange happens. Tika handles it like a pro, barely flinching. Her strap is adjusted, the weight balanced with a counterpack of woven cloth and herbs, and she resumes her position with the dignity of a llama who knows she's the backbone of the operation. Still, the tension lingers. The handlers whisper about apachitas, those little stone stacks built at sacred spots along the trail. They say a misbalanced load can offend the spirits, slow the group, or even cause a landslide if left uncorrected. You're not saying you believe it, but you do notice that the moment balance is restored, the wind seems to soften and the sun slides just a little higher in approval. Coincidence? You're not asking. As the group moves on, someone begins to hum. A soft looping tune with no words, just breath and melody. Another joins in, then a third. Soon, a chant rises from the back of the caravan, a rhythm to walk by. You pick it up without trying. The song isn't celebratory. It's not sad either. It's just steady, ancient. And suddenly, all the drama, the llama standoffs, the load swaps, the personal vendettas between pack animals, melts into a kind of calm. The caravan flows forward like a river, and the mountain watches. You pass another carved stone marker. This one bears a simple spiral. No one mentions it, but everyone nods as they pass. One handler touches it with 2 fingers. Another drops a pebble at its base. You ask someone what it means. Don't lose the path, they say. It always returns. You glance at Tika. She blinks slowly. You blink back. The llama gossip may never end. But the trail, it holds everything together. The sun has begun its slow descent, casting long gold fingers over the mountains, painting every ridge in honey and shadow. The caravan winds upward, still though less urgently now. The rhythm of the day has settled into your bones. Even your blisters have reached some quiet agreement with your socks. You walk in silence, the soft creak of straps, and the occasional llama grunt your only companions. And then the procession halts again. You've arrived at a huaca. It's not marked by signs or fences, just a sudden clearing ringed with jagged stones, their shadows pointing toward the valley like silent witnesses. You wouldn't have noticed it if not for the change in energy. People speak quieter. The llamas pause without being pulled. The wind even seems to hush. This is a place of the apus, the mountain spirits. And here no one passes without a gesture of respect. The caravan leader removes his hat. Others follow. A bowl is passed around filled with dark chicha beer brewed from black maize. Each person dips their fingers in flicking droplets toward the 4 corners. East, west, north, south. Then a 5th flick straight up toward the gods. One llama sneezes after being dabbed. Everyone laughs softly. Even the spirits you imagine have a sense of humor. Then comes the kintu, a ritual bundle of 3 coca leaves pressed together in a fan shape. Each leaf must be perfect. No tears, no blemishes. One represents the lower world. One the world of the living. And one the world above. The bundle is offered with 2 hands held out toward the mountain like a green whisper. You are handed one too. It's warm from the sun, slightly curved as if it remembers being part of something bigger. You step forward, take a deep breath, and hold the leaves up. You don't know the prayer. But your heart is steady, your intention clear. And that here is enough. Historians still debate the purpose of huacas. Were they always sacred from the beginning, or did they become sacred because of what happened upon them? Was it the place, the ritual? Or simply the repetition of reverence that stitched holiness into the soil? There's a story someone tells softly as the offerings are made. That long ago a caravan ignored this very stop, deciding to push forward without pause. Hours later, a storm rolled in. Rain like knives, a flash flood. 2 llamas swept away. One handler never seen again. Since then, no one skips the huaca. Not even if they're late. not even if it's just a whisper in the fog. And so your group honors it, fully, quietly, completely. A pile of flat stones is built near the center of the clearing and a pacheta, a cairn. Each traveler adds one stone, whispering a wish, a promise, a worry. Some cairns are massive. This one may be waist high. It doesn't need to be big, just sincere. You place your stone. It's oddly shaped, a little like a heart, or a foot, or maybe a crooked potato. You press it onto the pile and murmur something that sounds like a thank you. Next, one of the older women walks forward with a woven pouch. From it, she pulls a small object wrapped in red cloth and places it at the base of the apacheta. A charm, a relic, a memory. You don't ask. Some stories aren't meant to be explained. After the offerings, a thin flute begins to play. It's not quite in tune. One note in particular wobbles like a dizzy bird, but the sound is beautiful all the same, high, reedy, full of longing. It climbs into the sky, twining around the cliffs, threading through the breeze like a thread of smoke. The llamas respond to it. You swear they do. Tika raises her head. Her ears perk. And then, as if on cue, every llama in the line takes a small step forward and then settles again like a shared breath. One heartbeat. Someone brings out a bowl of tunta, freeze-dried white potatoes, rehydrated in hot broth. It smells earthy, a little sour, a little sweet. You're handed a wooden spoon. The first bite is shockingly good. Comfort food from another age. The llamas eat 2 chewing bundles of dry grass and compacted feed carried in hand-woven sacks. One particularly spoiled male gets a small pile of salt pellets rubbed with mint. You're not sure who packed that, you're just jealous. As the light softens and the shadows lengthen, the mood shifts again. People begin to gather up supplies. Packs are checked, bells are adjusted. One young boy whispers something into his llama's ear. You catch the word "huarmi," girl. Maybe it's the llama's name. Maybe it's a secret. You turn back for one last look at the huaca. The cairn stands still now, surrounded by a halo of fresh footprints. The coca leaves flutter faintly in the wind. And as you step back onto the trail, the clouds part just enough for a shaft of light to land right in the center, like a silent nod. Coincidence or acknowledgement? At this altitude, who can tell? The trail ahead winds downward, now hugging the curve of a ridge that overlooks a wide basin. Far below, you see what looks like a small village, smoke curling lazily from chimneys. But that's for later. For now, you follow the llama bells and the soft, steady song of mountains that always listen even when you don't speak. The sun dips low, casting amber across the trail as the caravan snakes into a narrow pass. The air thinner, now sharper. The pace slows, not because the terrain is difficult, though. Yes, it is, but because it's time for fashion. Specifically, llama accessories. Tika's pack begins to shift again as a handler approaches with a small pouch made of woven reed and bright thread. You watch as she pulls out earrings for the llama. Yes, earrings, not metal, not gemstone. These are delicate loops of dyed wool and feathers, some with tiny bells, some with bright red beads carved from seeds. They're tied gently to the llama's ear tufts, not pierced, of course, but looped like a blessing. You realize with mounting awe that this is more than decoration. It's identity. Each llama gets a unique pattern, a kind of spiritual name tag written in fringe and fluff. Tika gets a red and white combo with a single blue bead. The handler ties it just so and steps back. She's a protector, she says softly. She walks near sacred bundles. You blink, nod. Of course she is. Around you, other llamas get their flair. One with a rebellious glint in his eye gets mismatched colors, yellow and green. Another gets a full feather fan. One particularly senior llama receives a necklace of dried beans and shiny stones, clinking with each step like a personal percussion section. Historians still argue whether this llama ornamentation was purely symbolic or if it served a practical purpose, helping handlers keep track of individuals in large caravans. But others suggest these accessories were offerings themselves worn by the animal temporarily before being removed and left at sacred sites. And then you spot it, a small amulet tied not to a llama, but to the pack bundle itself. It's shaped like a tiny jaguar carved from dark wood smoothed by touch. It swings gently as the llama walks. Someone whispers that it wards off Nyakak mountain spirits that steal breath. You walk a little closer to Tika after that. Further up the trail, another ritual unfolds. A young girl approaches each llama with a small ceramic vessel. From it, she sprinkles something onto their heads, corn flour maybe, or powdered herbs. The llamas tolerate it with the same stoic patience they've shown all day. Some blink. One snorts. When she reaches you, she smiles and hands you the bowl. It's heavier than it looks. You glance inside, yep, definitely corn flour. Scented faintly with wild herbs. The girl nods at Tika. You get the message. You reach up, let the powder drift from your fingers onto her head. She doesn't flinch, doesn't move, just stares into the horizon like a prophet. It feels ceremonial. It also feels like the llama is judging your technique. The trail narrows again, this time skirting the edge of a cliff. Everyone walks closer, quieter. Even the llamas step more delicately, hooves striking stone with muffled tap. Then out of nowhere, a gust of wind. It rattles the bells, lifts the feathers, and sends a ripple through the caravan like a shiver. One llama panics, hopping sideways. A handler calms it quickly, whispering low, rhythmic words. You clutch your shawl. The wind passes. That's an Apu passing by, someone says. Checking in. You nod solemnly, resisting the urge to look dramatically skyward. Shortly after, the group stops for another break, this time at a small plateau littered with natural boulders. People stretch, llamas graze. You find a rock, sit on, breathe. Really breathe. And then there's a moment. A boy walks past with a flute playing a tune you've never heard but somehow recognize. It weaves around the bells, through the grass, and up into your spine. The llamas stop to listen. At least you think they do. Tika turns her head slightly toward the sound. Her earrings rustle. Someone nearby is threading small shells onto a cord, another charm. He hands one to you. You tie it to Tika's strap without asking what it means. Some things don't need translation. It hits you gently but fully. This isn't just about transport. It never was. These llamas are companions, witnesses, altars with hooves. You've crossed hours of landscape, climbed through wind and dust and ritual, and still somehow it feels like you're not tired. Not in the usual way. Something in you has settled. You look at your hands, still stained with ash, still smelling of herbs and wool and wind. The sun begins to lower behind the ridge, casting long shadows that stretch like arms reaching home. The caravan reforms slower now. Bells chime in sync again, packs are tightened, cloaks adjusted. Tika flicks her ears, her earrings swaying. You follow. Just ahead, a bend in the trail reveals another apachita built higher, broader than the last. Travelers ahead of you begin adding their stones. You reach into your pocket, find a smooth, warm pebble that wasn't there this morning. You place it. No words, just presence. Then the trail opens up again, wide and silent, and the llamas move forward, stepping softly as the stars begin to blink awake one by one. You've never heard a llama snore before, but now you have. It's somewhere between a gentle wheeze and a low humming sigh. Honestly, kind of adorable. One of the older males is lying belly down near the camp's edge, his chin pressed to the earth, his eyes half closed like he's been reliving the day's drama in his dreams. Around you, night is settling in with purpose. Camp is simple, no tents, no tarps. Just thick wool blankets spread across flattened patches of grass, soft piles of reeds for the llamas, and a ring of stones arranged carefully for the fire. You can still see the trail glowing faintly above like a vein across the mountain. Dinner is already bubbling in a clay pot slung low over the flames. The smell is rich and smoky: potatoes, onions, maybe dried alpaca jerky, and something sharp and green that clears your sinuses whether you want it to or not. A woman stirs it with the stick and hums softly, wearing a shawl stitched with bright yellow suns. Beside her, a boy unwraps small pouches of boiled maize the size of your fingernail. He hands you a handful, still warm like little edible pebbles of comfort. You thank him, and he nods with that half-shy confidence only high-altitude kids seem to have. Tika is nearby, curled into what you now understand is her preferred sleep position. Limbs tucked, head curled, and ears still twitching at every breeze. She's eaten well-grass pellets, a slice of pumpkin someone smuggled into the cargo, and she's had her straps removed for the night. In return, she's grunted exactly once, then settled with a contented flop. This is not her first journey. You wrap yourself in your borrowed poncho, its weight comforting, and lean against a rock that's been warmed by the fire. Someone passes a gourd of herbal tea munya with a hint of sweetness and smoke. You sip it slowly. It tastes like wind mint and patience. Then the stories begin. At first, it's just soft chatter. Then one of the elders begins to speak, not to the group directly, but to no one and everyone at once. She tells of a time when a white llama led a caravan up the wrong path and ended up discovering a hidden lake full of silver fish. She tells of a mountain that moved its shadow each year to protect a sacred spring. And she tells of the time a pair of lovers carved their initials into a stone cairn, only to return years later and find it grown taller, as if the mountain had answered. You don't know if any of it is true, but that's not really the point. The llamas seem to listen too. A few lift their heads. One lets out a slow groan of agreement. Another flaps its ears like applause. You learn something new in traditional belief: llamas dream. Not just in the twitchy, random way animals do, but with purpose, with memory, with warning. One handler swears his favorite llama once dreamed of a rockfall before it happened. She woke me with a scream, he says, and we moved camp just in time. Someone else mentions that llamas remember routes by scent. Another claims they recognize certain apus by the way the wind smells. Historians still argue whether these stories are folklore or misunderstood coincidence. But no one here seems to care. Truth lives in practice, in repetition, in faith woven into straps and whispered over sleeping beasts. You watch as another handler walks a slow circle around the camp, sprinkling crushed herbs into the fire. It crackles blue for a moment, then fades to orange again. He doesn't explain. He doesn't need to. The stars now are blinding. At this altitude, the night sky feels closer, like someone just lifted the world's ceiling and let the galaxies peek through. The Milky Way stretches overhead, thick and soft, like someone spilled silver across black velvet. You lie back on your blanket, head resting near Tika's side. Her breathing is steady, her bell quiet. Occasionally, her ear flicks and you wonder if she's dreaming of switchbacks or salt pellets. The fire crackles. Someone nearby snores, and you feel something you haven't felt all day: stillness. Not the kind of stillness that means nothing is happening, but the kind that says everything has happened exactly as it should. Above you, one star streaks across the sky. You make a wish because of course you do. Then you close your eyes and let the quiet tuck you in. Morning arrives like a soft nudge. No alarms, no shouted orders. Just a shift in air, a ripple of llama bells, and the earthy scent of something cooking over coals. You blink awake, not startled, just gently return to your body. Tika's already up. She stands a few feet away, tail swishing, her head tilted toward the ridge, as if she's been monitoring the sun's progress all morning. Her breath steams faintly in the cool dawn air, and her ears twitch at the faint chirp of mountain birds, greeting another day. You sit up slowly. Your back crackles like dry brush. Your legs offer a formal complaint, but your brain surprisingly calm. Sleep here feels honest, like the kind your ancestors probably had after making tools or fighting bears, or in this case, blessing llamas. Breakfast is simple reheated potatoes, a hunk of flat corn cake, and a handful of dried fruit soaked just enough to soften. You eat beside the fire while others quietly pack. No one rushes. The llamas eat 2 sacks of mash made from boiled maize and salt. One is fed from a decorated gourd, like royalty. And then the music begins. Not drums, not even a flute this time, just voices, low humming. A call-and-response song passed down generations sung to the rhythm of work. You don't know the words, but you hum along anyway, letting the sound push back the last of sleep. As packs are tied, you're handed a brush made from stiff grass bound in twine and asked to help. Llama grooming. You didn't expect this. But apparently, part of the morning ritual involves brushing out dust, checking hooves, and speaking softly to the animals. One handler tells you the llamas remember these moments more than the journey itself. You approach Tika gently, running the brush along her side. She shifts once, then settles, sighing deeply. You take that as approval. While the others finish packing, you notice something curious. A boy is walking between the llamas, whispering a short phrase to each one. The same word softly repeated. You ask someone nearby what he's saying. He's reminding them of the route. Wait, what? Yes, the woman says with a smile. The mountain is easier to climb if the llama remembers where it ends. Historians still debate whether llamas truly navigate by memory or scent, but many handlers swear by it. One theory suggests they follow wind currents. Another, that they remember the tone of the journey, the way the air tasted last time, the tilt of the stones, the songs sung along the way. A kind of dream-walking map stitched into their bones. Soon the caravan is ready again. This next stretch will be tougher, steeper paths, fewer rest spots, sharper winds. You're warned to keep your eyes on your feet and your heart in the trail, not that you needed a reminder. The climb begins slowly. The ground shifts from soft soil to smooth stone. Your feet find grip where they can, following not just the llamas but the faint lines worn into the rock by thousands of hooves before yours. Each step is a memory, each corner a reminder. And yet, despite the difficulty, it's oddly peaceful. The caravan moves in silence now, save for the wind. The bells chime less frequently, and when they do, it's soft, like questions, not answers. You pass through narrow passes where the walls rise on both sides like jaws. You tip your head back and see condors wheeling overhead, their wings casting quick-moving shadows across the stones. Someone murmurs a prayer under their breath. The condors are sacred after all messengers between worlds. Then in a rare flat spot, you come across another stone marker. This one is different. It's not a cairn. It's carved. A spiral again, but larger, deeper. Around it, shallow grooves worn by hands. People have touched this stone for centuries. You reach out almost without thinking and place your palm against it. It's cool, solid, but you swear just for a moment you feel it hum. You glance at Tika. She's watching you. You both move on. Further along, the group halts again. A stop, but not for rest. One of the elders announces a karga exchange, a rotation of sacred items between llamas. Why? Because the burden must be shared? No one animal should carry the ceremonial objects the entire way. You watch as 2 packs are carefully unbound, one containing dried herbs, another a cloth-wrapped statue no larger than a melon. It's unwrapped briefly. You glimpse gold, worn smooth. The figure is abstract, maybe a sun god, maybe a hero, maybe both. The statue is kissed by the elder, then passed carefully to the next llama in the line. It's Tika. She stands still as the pack is placed and fastened. She's not just a cargo llama now. She's a carrier, a bearer of story symbol weight. You walk beside her as the trail resumes. The sun climbs higher, the stones grow warmer, and the silence deepens, not empty but full. Full of bells, of breath, of steps that matter. You pass another traveler coming the other way, an old man with only one llama and a bag of feathers tied to his belt. He nods once, says nothing, keeps walking, but in that glance you understand each other. The trail is not about arriving. It's about returning. The air is thinner now, but not sharp, just distant, like the sky is slowly pulling everything upward. The trail narrows to a path carved directly into the cliff face, one edge sky, the other rock. You walk single file. Even the llamas tread more carefully here, their usual saunter replaced with mindful, deliberate steps. Tika is in front of you, her earrings swaying with every motion, the sacred bundle still strapped gently across her side. She doesn't hesitate. She's done this before, probably in another lifetime too. You've reached the part of the trail where the line between practical and mystical blurs completely. No one speaks, not because of exhaustion, but out of reverence. The wind here carries more than air. It carries memory. There's a pause at a natural outcrop shaped like a nose, or so the locals claim. They call it Nawi Rumi, the stone that sees. People stop to press a coca leaf to its base, one by one. Even the llamas pause here. You place your leaf, watching it flutter slightly before settling. Someone near you whispers, "Now it knows you." You choose not to ask who or what it is. Soon after, the trail descends into a hollow. Not a village, not even a campsite, just a wide bowl-shaped dip in the earth with a pool of still water reflecting the sky like glass. This is where the llamas drink. Not earlier, not before. Here, you're told this is one of the chosen pool spots on the trail where the water is considered pure enough for sacred beasts. No one bathes in it. No one speaks above a whisper here. A woman sprinkles a few crushed flowers on the surface. A young boy tosses in a pebble and makes a wish. You kneel beside it, and Tika steps forward, lowering her head slowly. The sound of a llama drinking is surprisingly gentle. Less slurping, more polite sips. She lifts her head, breath fogging faintly in the highland chill, then steps aside for the next in line. Around the pool, people begin to gather. Lunch is simple, dried meat, flat maize bread. A mash of beans and herbs wrapped in banana leaves. But no one eats just yet. First, they make a circle. They place their food on woven mats. The llamas are led into the center one at a time. This is the mid-journey honoring, a kind of halftime for the heart. Each llama is given a bit of salt, a few coca leaves, and yes, a spoken thank you. Not performative, not ceremonial, just real. You hear people murmur things like, "Thank you for walking, thank you for carrying, thank you for staying." Tika receives hers with regal calm ears flicking back toward you, as if to say, "I expect a proper speech, thank you very much." So you kneel, place your hand on her shoulder, and say simply, "Thank you." She exhales hard through her nose and then turns to chew on some moss growing near a rock. That feels about right. Historians still puzzle over how widespread these gratitude rituals were. Some say they were unique to highland communities. Others believe similar rites existed across vast swathes of the Andes, all carried by oral tradition. One particularly poetic theory suggests the rituals weren't for the llamas at all, but for the humans to remind them of humility, of reliance, of shared burden. You believe all of them. As lunch ends, you notice a few people step away to sit near the pool in silence. Others retighten packs or check the terrain ahead. The elders gather in a quiet circle. A cloth bundle is unwrapped, a scroll of knotted cords. A quipu. It's not for reading aloud, you're told. It's for remembering. Each knot, each twist of colored thread represents something, the number of llamas. The steps taken, the offerings made, the weather, even the dreams. This is a record not for empire, but for the spirit of the trail. You're invited to touch it. You do tentatively. The texture is rough but alive, like old rope soaked in stories. Then the cloth is wrapped again gently and passed to one of the young boys. He tucks it into a woven pouch and slings it over his shoulder. A reminder, memory must be carried too. Back on the trail, the mood is lighter. The climb resumes, but laughter begins to bubble up between travelers. Someone sings an old lullaby. A woman tells a joke that even the llamas seem to enjoy judging by a well-timed snort. The stones seem warmer beneath your feet now. The terrain shifts once again, less steep, more winding. You pass low shrubs dotted with flowers. One of them smells like vanilla and ash. A handler plucks a few and tucks them into a pouch. For the altar later, she says, an hour later, you reach the edge of a windswept ridge. Below a valley, vast and gold stretching all the way to the distant snowline. The trail bends downward and disappears into a patch of cloud that moves like a slow, thoughtful tide. No one speaks. Instead, they form a line. Each person steps to the edge, tosses a small offering into the air. A leaf, a thread, a word, and then moves on. The llamas pause, then follow. You and Tika reach the ridge together. You don't have a leaf, but you do have a word. So you whisper it. She doesn't ask what it is, and together you step forward. The cloud embraces you like breath held too long. Cool, soft, and quieting. Visibility drops. You can still see Tika's outline just ahead. Her bells muffled now like chimes underwater. The world shrinks to the space between footfalls, strap creaks, and the slow rhythm of hooves pressing into damp earth. This stretch of the trail is called Sumak Fu Yu, the beautiful fog. Not just for its looks, though, it is beautiful. It's a place of transformation, of transition. You enter it with questions. You leave it with fewer. Not because you've found answers, just because the questions lose their urgency. Everyone grows quieter. Even the llamas seem to step more gently. The fog brings strange gifts. Sound travels oddly close one moment, distant the next. Someone laughs behind you and it reaches your ears like a memory, not a sound. Bells jingle ahead and vanish mid-note. You feel your own breath more clearly than the trail. Tika pauses once. Not from fear, just awareness. Her ears tilt back then forward. She steps again and you follow without needing to look around. The cloud wraps you together in a little world no wider than the space between you. Half an hour in the caravan halts. Not for danger, for ritual. The fog prayer. You gather near a ring of stones that looks like nothing special, but the elders treat it like a doorway. Someone places a piece of quartz in the center. Someone else lays down coca leaves in the shape of a spiral. A man begins to speak not loudly, but with the voice of someone who knows the clouds are listening. He speaks to the spirits of air, of in-between, of roads yet to be seen. One phrase repeats kaina kunan kipa. Before, now, after. You close your eyes and breathe it in. Kaina. You remember how nervous you felt at the start. Kunan. You feel your heartbeat slow and steady. Kipa. You imagine the trail not yet walked, waiting for your footprints. Historians still debate whether these fog rituals were widely practiced or specific to certain valleys. Spanish chroniclers often miss them entirely, probably because they happened in silence without spectacle. But oral accounts passed through generations tell of fogs that whisper warnings, reveal hidden paths, or carry the voices of ancestors who never came back down. One story says that if you sing into the fog, your own voice returns, changed wiser, or sadder, or more certain. You don't try it. Not yet. After the prayer, you are given a stone. It's smooth, heavy, faintly warm from someone's pocket. You're told to carry it until the fog lifts and then leave it behind. Why? Because you don't need what it holds once the light returns. Simple enough. Mysterious enough. You tuck it into your pouch and continue on. The fog begins to shift. Subtly, almost imperceptibly. First, the air brightens. Then the outlines sharpen. You begin to see colors again, greens, browns, the dusty red of the soil. Tika's form becomes clearer. So does your own shadow. You feel the light before you see the sun. And then just like that you emerge. A ridge. Open. Swept with wind. And in the valley below, a field of golden grass rippling like water. The fog stays behind, clinging to the ridge like a memory that knows when to stay quiet. Everyone stops. One by one you reach into your pouch, pull out the stone and place it on the ground. No instructions, no speech, just a stone for the next traveler to find. Or not. You kneel to place yours, and as you rise, you realize your shoulders feel lighter. Nothing has changed, and yet everything has. The trail descends gently now. The llamas walk loosely, their pack swaying slightly with each step. Tika flicks her ears, glances back at you, then stretches her neck to nibble a low branch as she passes. A little reward, perhaps, for a job well done. Below, the field widens. A stream glitters through it, shallow and clear. The caravan veers toward it. Time to drink, to rest, to cool the feet and let the bells be still. You sit beside the stream. The water is icy alive, moving fast over smooth stones. Tika steps in knee-deep and lowers her head to drink. You splash your face. It feels like a reset. One of the boys skips stones. Another handler starts a tune on a reed whistle, high, lilting, hopeful. It weaves into the breeze. Then someone calls for the llamas, but not to leave, to dance. Not in the way you're thinking, no choreography, no matching steps, just motion, rhythm, celebration. The handlers gently lad the llamas in a slow loop through the grass. The bells jingle in time. The music rises. You see one woman laugh, her arms raise spinning as her llama walks beside her. A few travelers clap along, others hum. Tika joins not reluctantly but with purpose. She steps carefully, ears forward, the sacred bundle on her side catching the golden light. You watch as she moves through the field like a priestess wrapped in wool. Then, without thinking, you rise and walk beside her. One step, then another. Not a dance exactly, just presence in motion. You feel the trail behind you. The fog, the blessings, the llamas, the weight, the release. And ahead, a sunset beginning to burn its way across the sky. You don't know how many more steps are left, but you'll take them, one bell chime at a time. The descent is quieter now, not solemn but settled. The trail widens into a gentle slope brushed with soft grass and wind-carved stone. You and the caravan move slowly, not from fatigue, but from intention. Each step feels deliberate, part of something winding down. Tika walks beside you without needing a guide. Her earrings catch the low sun and flicker red gold, and the sacred bundle she carries seems to glow from within. The path curves gradually toward a low, flat terrace nestled in the saddle between two hills, your final stop before departure. This is the Chincana, the parting place. No buildings, no gates, just a flat clearing, a cluster of cairns, and a single worn stone that looks like a chair, though no one ever sits on it. It's not a throne. It's a reminder. Here you don't unpack. You unburden. The bundles are laid gently on the earth first, the sacred items, then the offerings gathered along the way. Bits of salt, woven charms, a thread, a stone. You add your own small token, a loop of llama wool you've braided absent-mindedly during rests. It's uneven, but it's honest. The elders form a loose circle around the offering pile. Some kneel, some stand, some simply close their eyes. There is no chant, no loud declaration, just a long moment of shared stillness. And then the bells begin. Not from motion, but from release. One by one, the llamas are gently unstrapped. The packs are removed, the straps coiled. The ceremonial adornments, the beads, the feathers, the charms untied and placed beside the offerings. Each llama is then led past the sacred stone. No rope, no pulling. They walk freely, unburdened, as if understanding this is where the wait ends. Tika arrives last. You walk with her, resting your hand on her side one last time. She pauses before the stone, lowers her head for a moment, just a breath, and then steps past it into the open grass beyond. She finds a patch of shade and flops down like she's done this 100 times. And she probably has. Somewhere behind you, a flute plays a closing tune. It rises softly. Fewer notes now, spaced out, fading into long pauses like breaths held and released. The sun has begun its descent in earnest, the sky streaked with crimson and violet. The light lands gently on the offerings, on the llamas, on your face. Someone places a final leaf on the pile. The shaman lifts his hand not to speak but to wave, Not a farewell, just acknowledgement. A signal. It is done. People begin to drift. Some gather gear, others sit to rest a little longer. No one rushes. You stay seated watching as the light thickens into dusk. And then the wind changes. It carries the scent of grass and distant wood smoke. The sound of a bird call echoes faintly across the hill. Tika lifts her head briefly, then lowers it again, content. You feel it in your chest, that quiet rearranging that comes after something sacred. Not a transformation, not a revelation, just stillness where noise used to live. You've walked the ritual, not as a spectator, as part of it. And now the trail ends not with a gate, or a sign, or a celebration, but with permission to rest. So you do. You lean back on the soft earth, the stars blinking awake overhead. The bells now quiet, the llamas now dreaming the mountain finally letting you go. Let yourself settle now. The caravan has stopped. The trail behind you has dimmed to silence, fading into soft memory like smoke curling from a forgotten fire. Tika is resting in the grass nearby, her breath slow and even, the echo of her steps lingering somewhere just behind your heartbeat. The mountain no longer asks anything of you. There's nothing left to carry. The offerings have been made. The songs have been sung. Even the wind is quieter now, brushing the tall grass with the care of someone folding a beloved old quilt. Your body feels weightless, shaped by the rhythm of the path. Your thoughts drift like the fog you passed through, no longer demanding, just floating, dissolving. Somewhere in the distance, a bell rings one final time, soft and far away. A reminder that you were here, that you walked, that you honored the land, the breath, the beast. Let that sound carry you into rest. Let the image of Tika, steady, soft, and strong, guide your breath. Inhale, hold, exhale, just like she did all day long. The stars overhead are ancient, but so is your peace. You've returned, not just from the trail, but to yourself. Sleep now, with the mountain behind you. Sleep, sleep, sleep.